Welcome, everyone, and welcome to Liberty Talk Radio. I'm your host, Joe Cristiano, and this is your antidote to popular talk radio. Folks, it's time for us to take back control of our government now before this bureaucratic, oversized, and self-serving federal government starves us of our property, our freedom, our rights, and our liberty. To do this, we must shed conventional thinking. Folks, we have to shed conventional thinking regarding our political structure. We need to be revolutionaries in thought, dissidents in action. Only after we recognize what our government is doing to our freedom and our Constitution will we start taking it back. And folks, this program is just about that. Good morning, I'm Joe Cristiano, and welcome to the next edition of Liberty Talk Radio. I don't know what I'm saying this morning, folks. Well, folks, let me make a confession. I'm always confessing to my constituents here, but when you're preparing for a radio broadcast, there is about an unlimited number of items that can be discussed, and it's not what are you going to discuss. It's how do you wade through? How do you work your way through all of the noise, all of the excesses, to find out what the core issue is? Because we're here once a week. And to waste our time talking about Senator or Congressman so-and-so who said this, and that, or the Republicans or the Democrats said that, or the Syrian rebels did this, is an absolute waste of time. You know that? I know that. There's one thing that we know for sure, every one of us, and I don't care where you are on the political spectrum, don't care if you are being forced to listen to this, because your radio dial won't move, it's stuck, and this is the only thing that'll play on the radio while driving to work. But there is one thing that is common to everyone. I feel absolutely certain about this. And that is, things aren't right. You know it. I know it. We just hate to admit it. How could we admit that? We're America. We pick ourselves up from the bootstraps and move on. We conquered the world, World War II. We drove back the Nazis, everything. We won the Cold War. We're the strongest nation. How could we say that? And yet, intuitively, folks, inside every one of us, I don't care if you get the most optimistic, foolhardy person, I think everything will be fine. I just have hope, and I know because we're America, and all that garbage, all that fluff garbage. We know when we peel all that away, peel it away, we know things aren't right. And most radio talk show programs talk about what's wrong, and how someone else is wrong, and this is probably a little bit righter, and so we should do this rather than that. I can guarantee you one thing, this program is not about that. If you're looking for that, turn the channel. Turn it. Put your hand on it, press a button, do something. Oh no, now they're voice activated. You do not want to listen to this. If you want to know what's going on, you want to know what really hurts, you'll listen here. Because it bothers me. And I'm no different than anybody else. Don't think because I have a radio program I'm something different. I'm like no one else. I'm like everyone else. It bothers me. I think about this 24 hours a day. What's wrong? And we're looking for all of these complicated formulas and government intervention and programs and legislation. And we're looking for the savior, somebody. Oh, if we only had a person in office who would, and fill in the stupid blank. How often do we say to ourselves, what am I doing? Why do I keep on looking out to what everyone else is doing? Why don't I look inward to see what I am doing? Let me give you maybe this is a little bit of a sideline. I went to a meeting they call Tulsa Preppers. Now, they're pretty intelligent guys, believe it or not. They're not nutcakes. And they just talk about always being prepared. They don't talk about Armageddon or all that stuff. They just talk about everyone should be somewhat self-sufficient for a certain period of time in case of a tornado or whatever. Really sharp guys. And these guys just say, you should look to yourselves, prepare for yourselves. You should be responsible for yourselves. You shouldn't sit around and wait for FEMA, for the city, for the police, for the fire department. You should do as much as you can for yourselves. Now, for example, the last meeting, it meets once a month. Last meeting, they talked about growing your own food. Now, let me be honest with you. I'm 69 and a half years old, creeping up on 70 years old. I've never farmed in my life. I don't think I'm going to start now. But I have a responsibility to myself to say, well, if I'm not going to go out there and develop an entire garden, raise beds, all the stuff, hot houses and stuff like that, seeds. And I don't mind doing that. I have flower pots outside. I have some things that we grow, tomatoes and stuff. But I mean, really do something that would sustain us for any period of time. I know I am not going to do that. I mean, physically, I don't have the energy to do that anymore. I don't have the desire to do it. And I'm too busy with things that are as important as that, in my opinion. For me, not you, me. So I decided instead of growing my own food, I was going to do the next best thing and buy some long-term storage food that's freeze-dried, that sits on a shelf for 25 years. You can use it any time. Now, it's a lot more expensive to do it that way, but I took the responsibility for me and my family. Should there be a food shortage, I'm not going to run outside and start harvesting my spinach. I'm going to have it in my cubby hole in my garage. I have a storm shelter in my garage, underneath the ground, nice and cool. That's where my food is. Nobody go near that. I warn you, do not go near my storm shelter. I'm very picky about it, okay? You understand me? All right, good. But I'm just saying that we can do things for ourselves. So I went to a meeting. They said, let's get out there and start farming. Get your hoe, your rake, your picks, your shovels, and let's go. And I said, I do a lot of things in my life. I'm not going to do that. I'm a Harlem boy. The only thing I knew, I didn't know there was dirt. I thought there was concrete. I thought God made the world with concrete on it. I remember I saw my first maple tree. It was in a park. That's where Jimmy beat the hell out of me. In a sandbox. I can tell you, this is the God's honest truth. I'm going to start farming. Now, if I was a young guy, I would do that. If I had land, I would do that. I'm just saying that we have to do for ourselves. Now, that's not being selfish, saying, oh, Joe, you don't care about the rest of the world. No, you are worthless to the rest of the world if you don't take care of yourself. I said this last week. What if you took a person that's born, put him in a closet, just fed them, gave them food and water and air and stuff like that for 18 years. Never let them out of the closet. They were absolutely worthless. Let them out at 18 and say, okay, now help the rest of the world. What would that person do? Absolutely nothing. It would be a 100% burden on society. You cannot become a burden on society, and most of us are in one way, shape, or form, and I include myself in that. But at least I'm starting to take appropriate action, saying, hey, the guy makes a point. Not going to farm. Those cans of peas are not going to last 6 months. So I went out and bought some extra food. Now, what do I sacrifice? Well, I didn't buy no car. You want to see my car? Come to my house anytime. 1996 Subaru Impreza Outback. Love it. 269,000 miles. And I promise, I swear to God, I tell you, I'm going to stick to this. I'm buying a new car at 500,000 miles. I don't care what you say. You can see my point? It's priorities. You want to look good or you want to run good? I want to run good. I don't care how the hell I look. I'm so handsome, it doesn't make any difference anyway. You know that. You can see my website. You see my point. Things aren't right, folks. Let me walk through a scenario. In fact, before I walk through a scenario, let's take an early break. Let's do that right now. Folks, really, if you feel anything the way I do, and you don't even know why you feel that way, I want you to call me 855-866-1170. Please, comments at libertytalkradio.com, and our email address is, our website is libertytalkradio.com. Now, I do not want you to feel as if you are interrupting me. Please interrupt me, all right? Please, all right? I want to know how you feel. I want this to be a two-way conversation. I want this to be an understanding. I don't hang up on anyone. Even if you disagree with me, you say, Joe, you're an absolute nutcake. Thank you. That's what I want to hear. But please tell me why. Please tell me why. I want to know what's going on. I don't know what's going on until you tell me what is going on. Someone sent me a T-shirt that says ineptocracy. Ineptocracy. I love that. A system of government where the least capable to lead are elected by the least capable of producing, and where the members of society least likely to sustain themselves or succeed are rewarded with goods and services paid for by the confiscated wealth of the diminishing number of producers. Touche! I'm with you 100%. And and when you read that, although it's sort of an exaggeration, do you think that's where we are going? Obviously. I mean, it's so obvious. It's like it's a mud all over your face. It's obvious. But I'm going to depart from our normal format, and I'm going to go through a very simplified situation, and I don't want anyone to misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not condemning anyone. I'm just going to give an idea, all right? All right, here it goes. Listen carefully now, all right? Again, 855-866-1170. I want to hear from you. Don't let me come out there and dial the phone for you, okay? Don't let me do that, guy. I'm not a nice guy. You know that. All right, a guy meets a gal. Gal meets a guy. They fall in love, and they get married. All right, everything's fine, right? And let's say this guy has a job doing one particular thing. It could be a technical job or whatever. And the gal, let's say, is going to school to become a programmer, whatever. All right, a very good situation. I mean, two nice people. They fall in love. They get married. Fine, everything's like, she graduates, he graduates. They both have very good jobs. They become more proficient in their jobs, right? Right. So far, love in the cottage, right? And after a few years of marriage, and of course, I mean, she may go on to get her MBA or whatever he does, or becomes a highly technical person, whatever. You fill in the blanks yourself, right? They decide to have a child. They say, "Oh, Johnny, I think I want to have a baby." I said, "Oh, okay. All right, let's have a baby." Okay, and that's about as much thought as people give when they want to have a baby. So then she gets pregnant, bingo, and now she has a baby. Right? Now, the way things are, what do people say? They say, well, you can't make it on one income today. You need both people working, which is so much bunk it makes me want to throw up. But that's what they say, right? Now, so now they're living pretty well. They have a new SUV, or two of them, obviously, because they part ways every morning, and they both have a nice house, a heavy mortgage, but they can handle it. But now they have a child. You see what happens. So then they say, well, after so many weeks, my company will hire me back. They'll give me I'll be on sick leave. Having a baby is sick leave. Hey, John, you're on the phone. Just hold on. You know what? All right, let me stop right there. Hold on right there. They just had a baby, but I want to get John on the phone. I don't have to hold any longer. John, you're on the phone.
Oh, howdy. Well, I don't know if I hope what I have to say is not too, I don't want to be controversial or anything, but...
Oh, no, if it is controversial, we'll send you an invoice and a bill. That's all right. Pay in 30 days, okay?
Yeah, that'll be good. But
Please do.
Well, I have a few complaints about Republicans and Christians in general. Both groups lack gonads. They just ain't going to make it. The Republicans are so wishy-washy. I no longer identify myself as a Republican, and the Christians are never going to fight back against the Muslims. They're too coward. And by the way, as far as the Republicans are concerned, I don't mean to switch back and forth so much, but I have a solution to this fiscal cliff problem. But of course,
John, let me hear it. I can't wait.
Okay, well, let's go back to Mr. Obama. I can't call him president. He's not my president. But anyway, let's go back to the time when he was in the Senate. He always voted present, when on anything controversial. Now, what would be wrong with every Republican in the Senate and the House simply voting present when they come up on this fiscal cliff thing. And if they do, then how can you blame them? Because you can't say they voted against it, against the raising of taxes on these evil rich. By the way, I'm not one of them, so I won't have to worry about that. But if they just simply vote present, just like Obama did, then the Democrats will be the ones that take us over the fiscal cliff one way or the other. That is, they'll vote one way or the other, but they will be responsible for what happened. It will be their fault that everybody's going to have to pay more taxes, or everybody's going to have to lose more jobs. We've got the choice between those two.
Yeah, all right, you make a good point, John. I mean, if that's what he does and everyone did that, yeah, then we can blame somebody else. But it doesn't. My only problem with that, John, I don't disagree. I'm just saying it doesn't solve any problem. I don't care what they do in Washington. You want to know? I don't care, because I want to be what they call sovereign, and I know that's a kind of a flaky word to use, a very broad term. That means I want to be as independent. I mean, I'm a citizen of the United States. I respect the laws and the whole bit, you know, but I want to be as sovereign as I can be in and of myself. Whether or not they vote one way or another, I want to protect myself and my family. So, quite frankly, I don't care. They could all vote yes and all vote no, 100%. It's immaterial to me.
Well, it's very material to me, and there's no way any of us is going to be sovereign anymore. We can't even control our own trash anymore.
Well,
how can you call?
I agree.
Say sovereign? Even we're not even sovereign on the local level anymore. We're under so much government control we can't even breathe.
Right. What I want to suggest to you, John, is I wish Americans would spend less time watching what other people are doing, especially what's happening in Washington, and look at yourself and say, what are my circumstances? How can I improve my circumstances if everything goes to heck in a handbasket?
Well, in my case, I basically just want to drop out because they've all got their hand in my pocket, all the way from the local to the national, and now we're right on the verge of the international.
Well, you're right. Well, see, I'm a dropout.
Getting their hand in our pocket.
Join my club, the Dropout Club.
Well,
really, I mean, think about it. You need to drop out. I mean, unless they give me someone to vote for, I don't vote. You know, I mean, I pay my taxes, I do everything legal, but I do everything that I can for myself. I do not follow the numbification that our television and our mainstream media and our government wants to put us through. I reject that. I avoid that, so I do for myself. Now, am I still paying a hell of a lot of taxes and doing those? Absolutely. But whatever I have, I'm making the most of, and I don't care. They can all vote one way or another. It makes no difference. I don't listen, don't read it, don't care.
Well, it makes a difference because they have control over us that we can't really fight back. We must buy the government's product at the point of a gun.
Well, the thing is, John, you're right.
The big business that people gripe about. Well, that's voluntary. We can buy their products or not buy their products.
Right.
The big government, we have to buy their products so they can shoot you through the head if you don't.
That is correct. But whatever you have left, you should do as well to divorce yourself from the system. That's my point. Now, I agree. There's no disagreement here, John. You know what the disagreement is? You know where you and I disagree? In mentality only. In attitude and mentality. That's all it is. But I agree with everything you said.
I don't have a whole lot of mental, but I'm
Oh, you sure do. Come on, John. John, I got to get going, okay? Thank you very much for calling. Appreciate the call.
Thank you for listening to my call.
Right, appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. And John, if you're still listening, why don't you send me an email with a mailing address and T-shirt size, and I'll be more than happy to send you a Liberty Talk Radio T-shirt. In fact, I'll send one to anyone who calls tonight. This morning, rather, okay? And I'll send it to you. Now, let's go back to that situation. We only have a few minutes before we have our big break in this program. But, all right, so now they have a child. This couple have a child, all right? Now everything changes, all right? Well, they said, well, she's going to get a couple of weeks off or a few weeks off because the government mandate that they allowed a person to have a baby, blah, 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 whatever it is. All right, they have the baby. Now what do? Well, she has to go back to work because she's got a car payment and $375,000 house because they live very well, and they have to go on vacation, and they have to have the latest crap and all this other stuff. So, what they do is that she continues to work. Husband may even find a part-time job to make ends meet, and the child goes to daycare. Now, the first thing you've done is you've abdicated your responsibility as a parent, right? And you've given that to somebody else, usually a quasi or full government agency. Now, you see, right from that very, very one step, do you see what happens? Everything doesn't seem to be right. She's running to work and then making sure she can get home so she can get the babysitter who can watch the child while the babysitter is sick and she can't make it, so she runs home and gets the child and gets time off from work, and she gets in trouble at work, and then the baby's sick. Oh, my God. All because we in this scenario, a very simple scenario, what we have done is we have worked for years, studied for years. And I'm not blaming the woman or the man or anything. I'm just saying collectively, both of them, they have studied for years to be proficient on their job, to be a programmer, whatever it is, I don't care. They study for years. They get an MBA. They get all these degrees. And then I ask the question, how many years have they studied? How much time have they put into understanding and comprehending how important it is to raise a child? Bingo. And folks, we're going to take a break and we're going to continue this when we get back. Stay with us. Folks, we're back. I'd like you to call 855-866-1170. Please don't feel like you're interrupting me. I know I'm so interesting, you just can't break away from listening. But we were talking about this couple, and all of a sudden they have this child, and the question is, how much time did both the husband and the wife spend studying to become proficient in the jobs that they have, whether it be whatever it is, fill in the blank, programmer, diesel mechanic, okay. And you say, well, years. Sometimes it takes 4, 6, 8 years of study to become proficient in their job. Now, what is the number one most important job in this world? Not only in America, worldwide. I don't care if it's Antarctica, I don't care, Siberia, Africa, makes no difference. What's the number one most important job in the world? Come on, folks, call in with it. What's the most important job in the world? You know what it is? No one wants to admit it. Come on, guys and gals. Yes, you are correct. I can hear it. I can hear the vibes right now. I can hear it. You don't have to call in. Don't call in. I can hear it. Raising children. Raising children and holding a family together. When I was young, and now when I say young, I'm talking over 50 years ago, possibly 60 years ago. I watched a talk show program, and I'll never forget this. It's so clear. This is so clear. It's like I watched it last night. In fact, it's clearer than I watched it last night. As if I watched it last night, I should say. It was a talk show host. TV's first talk show host. Black and white TV. Guy stood on a stage like an auditorium in a high school, sat in a chair, and talked. It was live, by the way. Talked to the entire audience. And he was talking about different jobs and the importance of them and whatever. And he asked the audience, he said, does anyone have a question? And a woman raised her hand. He pointed to her and he asked her to stand and please ask her question. A guy ran over with a microphone. And she said, thank you so much. She said, I'm only a housewife, however, and he stood up, bolted out of his chair. He said, stop, stop. What do you mean? Now, this is almost 60 years ago, folks. What do you mean you are only a housewife? How dare you? Reduce the most important job in America to I'm sorry. He said, you have the most important and the most difficult job anyone could have. And I never forget that. Never forgot that. Never. But how much time do we spend today in thought, in planning for having a child, and with that, within that whole thing, the whole concept of running a household? You know, people say, I'm only a housewife. Wait a minute, think about it. A guy goes to work, he may be an accountant or whatever he does, or anything, you name it. And they have one job and they have a boss they got to please. So most of it's garbage, you know, unless you're really producing something. But when you are the person in charge of the home, you are a finance manager. You are an inventory manager. You are a personnel manager. I mean, you manage absolutely, you're a microcosm of the world. Everything possible that happens in the world, you are in charge of. You are the repair manager. You're the facilities manager. The facilities manager is the person who takes care of the physical facility. You're in charge of that. It is, in fact, the most difficult, most diversified job in the world. But just think, folks, what we do, and then when you add children to it, and raising a child, and how critically important that is, what we do is we run from it. We get into our SUV, run away, lock the place up, the facility up, don't give it any thought because we have an important meeting at 8 o'clock. Dump our kids off to a government internment camp, which some people call public schools, you know, and off they go. 10 years later, they go, why is my life a mess? Why is my child, what happened to the nuclear family? You know what? I dream for the day of the nuclear family, of where we get together and we have conversations, and there's love and harmony in the family. There's respect. My family doesn't have any of that. I wonder what happened. What do you mean, what happened? You dropped the kid off? You said, hey, kid, you're not important to me. What's more important is line item 1046 on my program that I have to fix, or whatever the case may be, you know, and that's more important. I dumped you off to somebody else. In fact, I don't even know who that person is, but they came highly recommended. And then we want to know, why do our children, why does my child think that way? We never thought that way. Well, guess what, folks? Your children don't even know how you think because you haven't given it 5 seconds of thought. Just think about it. You know, if we pared down our extravagance to accommodate raising children, and a person was home, and typically it's the woman, folks, and don't get into this woman's lips crap with me, please. Stays home with the child, and home educates the child, and with the internet, that is a snap. And the child participates in the family, in keeping the family together. There is a sense of ownership. There is a bond that develops. They don't have to develop a bond with the drug dealer in your local grammar school. They don't need that. And I know the argument, oh, but they don't get integrated society. Oh, come on, give me that crap society, the integration crap. What happened when people worked on a farm back in the 30s? They didn't see a person for months. You mean these people didn't integrate into society? No, they were the most productive people in the most productive people in the world. They did integrate with their family. And they learned how to get along with others. And then when the kids come home from school, their things are over. At least what you learn, and let's assume that what you're learning on the internet, on your homeschooling, is rubbish. Let's assume it's right. At least the parent will know it's rubbish and say, this is what they teach you. This is what you need to know to pass the test. Let me tell you the true story. This really didn't happen that way. This is comic book history. But they have to do it for this. And then all of a sudden the kids start thinking, say, makes sense. My mom is sharp. My dad is sharp. At dinner time, they say, hey, what What did you learn today in your homeschooling? You discuss it over the table. See, you're not running out to eat because it's not costing you anything. You can buy a bag of lentils for $1.29, eat for 3 days. That's what I do. I love lentils, by the way. I love lentils. Anyone wants to make lentil soup, I'll eat it. I'll tell you. So instead of going out and spending $40 on a meal, some crap, garbage, manufactured food, you're home eating homemade food, organic food or whatever, but good food for you. You lessen your probability of a heart attack, et cetera, et cetera. The world becomes more right because you're placing your efforts where it's mostly needed, with the family and your children. But we are escaping that, and then when we escape that and the child is poorly in school, we want to blame the school. I put them in a good school. I moved here because the school district is #1 in the area, and I want to know why they're so crappy in school. Why my kid's on drugs? Don't look any further. Please, don't look any further than the nose on your face, folks. And we want to know why things aren't right. Now, they say, Joe, why are you talking about this? This is not a psychology program. Because once you give up that responsibility, you give up your liberty. You know you're no longer a free person. Your family is no longer free. You are no longer autonomous. You are no longer competent in what you should be doing, and that is to be competent in raising a family and having a household. You no longer have any meaningful relationship with others because everyone's scattered all over the place. Daddy's here, mommy's there, kids are there, and don't forget, there's a soccer game Saturday morning. And we want to know why things aren't right because we abdicated our responsibility, and we forfeited all of our liberties as a result and became subjects of the state and the system. Folks, it is that simple. Now, does that solve every problem? Absolutely not, and I'm not going there. I'm saying look at the way we live today. Can we take a fast break? Let's take a fast break. I need some coffee. Calm me down. You know, folks, I really like you to call 855-866-1170. We only have about 10, 12 minutes to go, but I do want to hear what you have to say. I know you're out there. Please. And let me just wrap this thing up and see if I can wrap it up, and then we can take some more calls. Please do call. But, we can't answer the phone if you're not there. You understand that. You understand that concept. But you see, once we give up, and we give up to the system, and we give up our children to the government schools, what we've done, we've abdicated our responsibility. The government then indoctrinates your kids, and we want to know why our kids don't think as we do. Why is there so much disharmony in the family? What do you think the government is going to teach the kids? Please listen to mommy and daddy? No, listen to us. Because the only way the government can survive is that if there's divisiveness, if it's us against them, if it's the rich against the poor, if it's the immigrant against the person who is established here, if it's the person who has a job versus the person who doesn't have a job, if it's the person who's educated versus the person who's not educated, you name it, the government wants divisiveness so we could all pick scapegoats. And skin color. My God, of course, skin color. How could I, for someone just to remind me skin color? If you're not the right shade, forget about it. And you don't think that that's forced in school? Ha, ha, ha. Read a history book. Read an American history book in school. You'll get sick. In fact, I'm getting a textbook from our elementary school, and I'm going to start reading it. I'm going to verbatim read these books, and you're not going to believe what it says. So your job is to make certain that you divorce yourself from the system and you protect your child from the system that will indoctrinate them against you. You have the power. It's all in the power. The only thing governments fear, every government fears, is when the individual citizen starts taking responsibility for themselves. That is true liberty. This is Liberty Talk Radio, folks, in case you wanted to know. That is true liberty. Forget about, getting guns and fighting in the street and turning cars over. That's garbage. That's TV crap. It's all in the mind. Now, if you want your child to be raised by someone and you have no idea what they're really doing, and then they become indoctrinated and you don't know really what they're learning, and then you want to don't give a damn whether or not you have any true relationship with them, do what you're doing now. Don't change. And it takes a lot of guts to change. You have to look at yourself and say, do I need all this crap? What is truly important? How do I gain my freedom? You gain your freedom by bringing the family back together again, and it's a very difficult process. You can do it. Everyone can do it. And it's a silent revolution, folks. This is not, Molotov cocktails in the street. It's totally silent. You start withdrawing your children from the school, homeschooling them. You quit your job. You cut back your expenses. And I can guarantee, it's been proven that people say that you can actually come out with a better bottom line with one salary and one person managing the home than two salaries and existing the way you are now. And I said, I'm frugal. Let me tell you something. If I was on welfare, the first thing I would do is the first $5 would be invested. I would still invest first in each second. That's the way I am. And if they came out with a new car that had a DVD in the driver's seat, I don't give a damn. And neither should you. Watch television. Do you realize, folks, on television, the only people truly that are happy and smiling all the time are people on television, especially people selling you something, ads. The commercials. Right? Someone just said commercials, I think. Now, you're not going to believe this. I saw an ad for Vanity Fair paper napkins, or vanity napkins. Is it Vanity Fair? Napkins. Folks, I'm not making this up, and I'm not embellishing upon it. And it showed a family sitting together having supper. Doesn't exist, all right? But they were sitting together, and the child was ecstatic that they had a vanity paper napkin. I'm not kidding you. And the kid picked it up, looked at it, and burst out in sunshine and looked at the parents and said, but thank you, Mom and Dad. And opened so carefully his vanity napkin and placed it in his lap and ate. And their mother and father was smiling, literally giggling over the napkin. Folks, you've got to see this ad. Now, I expected right afterwards the TV would shut off because people around the world would start rioting and pulling wires out of the wall because they've gone nuts. It didn't happen. Do you know why? Because that has become our new reality. Here, we got a caller. Let's get Dave on the phone. Dave, you're on the phone. What's happening?
Hey, how you doing this morning?
Okay, great. What's happening?
Well, you're on fire this morning.
Me? You kidding me? I haven't taken my pep pill yet. What's going on?
Well, you hit home with me when you were talking about the mother staying at home and raising the children, because that's exactly what we did. For a long time, I was able to make enough money for both of us, for the whole family, and my wife stayed at home and raised our kids. Our kids are in their 30s now. But society, and the consumerism has programmed everybody into work, buy, and the kids get left on the wayside.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I applaud you, and for that, I typically send people a Liberty Talk Radio T-shirt for calling in. This time, I'd like to send you and your wife a Liberty Talk Radio T-shirt. Just send me a mailing address and both your T-shirt sizes to comments@libertytalkradio.com, and both of you can join the hordes of walking billboards for Liberty Talk Radio. How about that, Dave?
Well, that sounds really good.
All right, great. Thank you so much for calling in. Appreciate it. Wow. Now, there's something. By the way, after this broadcast, I'm going to go over to First Watch on 68th and Memorial, and have some breakfast. If anyone wants to join us, please stop over, especially if you have this propensity to want to treat us. No, I'm only kidding. Join us. We'll have a good conversation. But understand that the only people, now the reason why I'm sensitive to this is because I just had shoulder replacement surgery, could do very, very little other than sit in this passive motion chair for 6 to 8 hours a day. I'm not kidding you. So my arm doesn't freeze up. I got a new ball put in, new socket and stuff. And I'm watching television because there's not much you can do. I can't hold a book with this thing flying in front of my face. Very difficult to do. So I watch more than the usual amount of television, and I hate television. It is garbage, folks. And what I do is when I watch television, I analyze what I'm watching. And listen, we got time for one more caller, 855-866-1170. Let it be you. Come on, one more call, 855-866-1170. And I'm watching this, and the only people that are smiling are people on commercials. The only people who know everything, that are clever, that can solve all the problems, are people on these stupid situation comedies or whatever. And the program I hate the most is The Voice. Not that the singing isn't good, but the people who are there are ecstatically stupid. All they do is yell. A person get up there and pick his nose and they go crazy, And no one ever has a word to say saying, you have a good voice. I'll be honest with you. Song sucked and you're not dressed properly for it. No. Oh, you really hit my strings and, man, you're awesome. We use the word awesome about 25,000 times a day on television. Because we have become what is known as the zombies. We are zombies, folks. Here we go. We got one more caller. Do we know who it is yet? Hold on, folks. I want to take this one call. Okay, Monty, you're on the air. Got to make it quick. We got about 30 seconds. Go for it.
Yes, sir. First time I've ever called in a radio talk show before, Joe. I just really enjoy what you're saying.
Thank you.
I see the problem with the educational system is I look at this whole educational thing with the government almost like Hitler developed the Hitler Youth through kind of a federal educational system.
Yeah, exactly, Monty. Monty, we have to run now. Sorry, we just ran out of time. I'd love to have you on the air longer. Please give me a call next week, okay? Next Sunday morning. I'd love to hear from you. And send me your email, an email with your T-shirt size and a mailing address. I'll send it to you. Okay, folks. I guess it's about time to go, isn't it? All right, folks, this is the end of today's broadcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors for the financial support, and we'd like to thank you for listening in. Folks, you can further the cause of liberty by recommending this program to your friends and let us hear from you. Our email is just as comments at libertytalkradio.com. Remember, you're either allowing your liberties to take it away or you're striving to protect them. Unfortunately, folks, there is no middle ground. With that, until next time, do not become a zombie. All right? I'm Joe Cristiano. This is Liberty Talk Radio. Stay well. Stay tuned.